my Cookie Monster crew, my CMCs. Welcome back to my channel. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe so you can always catch these vibes and turn on that post bell notification so that way you get notified every single time there's a picketed post. Yeah. Okay, so this episode we're going to get into, let's start off with what it is. We are now in the segment of the time I met. Okay, in this episode, we're going to get into a few things. So, here are your clues. First clue. This person is known for a spelling movie. She has a son. She's a female. She has a son, but the person I'm talking about is a female. She is an actress. And she does music as well. And she has a podcast. Let's see if you guys can guess. Okay, I am talking about y'all's girl, Keke Palmer. So let's go and get into the time that I met Keke Palmer. So I met Keke Palmer back in the day when she was auditioning for Akila and the Bee. So my younger sister, her, and I want to say it was Kyla Pratt, were the 3 finalists that made it to the callback for Akila and the Bee. And at that point, it was the first time that we'd ever met her because it was literally between her and my sister, and I believe it was Kyla Pratt. She ended up getting the movie, but after that, somehow we became cool and friends. So we'd always have these meetups at there's a girl that we knew called Chelsea. And her family at the time used to have a lot of meetups for the kids who were homeschooled when we were homeschooled. So we'd go over there, we hang out, and at one of those times we became cool, and us as the kids started talking, and then after that we became friends. So we used to hang out at our house a lot, and go over there, they have they cook, our families and her family was just all hang out and vibe out. And this was when I was a teenager, right? So this was 15, 16, and then over time, her and I, so that was then, and then over time, anytime we moved anywhere, when we had our condo, we lived in NoHo 14, she would always come over and visit. She was the 4th sim sister. Honestly, she'd always be at the house. We always had the snacks at the house, just boom, right? And over time, her and I became kind of the closest between her and my sisters. So much to the point where later on, I had gotten to a random tiff with my dad, and he had threatened to kick me out. And I was texting her and sending the screenshot the message to her, girl, look how this man's talking. So much to the point she was like, girl, just come live with me. So then I moved in with her, right? And at this point, this is after college, so I'm now in my 20s. So she's been through there, through my first love, my first heartbreak, back in my MySpace days when I was dating this dude out of state, that I had never met through MySpace. I knew if he was who he was. Honestly, I'll say this: his face reminds me of the baby, today. But his eyes were lighter. I'm not gonna say his name, but that was my little boo thing back in the day, and we used to write each other love letters, and I would color the envelope and all this stuff, just to do the most. And I remember one time, this is kind of besides the point, but I'm gonna keep going. I remember one time a letter had returned back, and my dad had read it when he had saw it, and literally in front of me just ripped it open and tore it, and I was just and it was nothing crazy. It was innocent. It was nothing nasty, freaky. I just always been super. I've always been a lover girl, just super affectionate. So I did the most. I've always done the most. I'm gonna keep doing the most. Anyway, back to this episode of the time I met, because that's a whole other story time. So yeah, we became super duper close, and really, she legit was my best friend. And my homegirl that I'm always talking about in these episodes is her. So we became super duper duper close, and yeah, so we did have a falling out. There was a time where she was out of state and wanted me to come visit her, but I was training and I couldn't. So the only thing, like, I've had a lot of friends in the industry and I've dated people in the industry. The only negative to that is sometimes they want you to be available all the time. Like, literally almost low-key like a lapdog. And when you can't, it can be a thing. So she was out of town and wanted me to come visit, and I was like, I can't. I have clients and stuff who are relying on me, like I'm working. And she caught like a little like attitude, and it was just like, ugh. So then I remember she had told my younger sister, back when Dallas was still alive. Hey Dallas, rest in peace, girl. My sister had her dog Austin and Dallas with her out of state, and she was coming to visit. So she told her, hey, bring Dallas with you. So, you know, she wanted to see her. So my sister ended up coming early and was going to leave before she got a chance to come back. So I was like, oh, okay, we'll just leave Dallas with me, so that way when she comes back, she still gets a chance to like see Dallas, and then I'll just make sure that like I take her back to my parents, so that way she can go, like, you know, they'll take her back to you. Well, somehow she caught an attitude with that and like flipped out. It became a thing later on, right? And I remember like her mom always travels with her everywhere. I remember her dad came over to the house. So there was a guy that I was dating that sometimes when she wasn't home, I would have him there, only because it was an upstairs, downstairs like townhome, and I was there by myself, and I felt that I was just a little like scared sometimes being there by myself, especially at nighttime. So he would be there, you know, he was like a 6'2", 6'5", like guy, like really muscular, like, so, you know what I mean? But him and I had ended, and that's a whole other story time. So at this point, I was there by myself because of what I just explained. I had the door locked to my room, so that way, if for whatever reason anybody ever came in, the door was locked, right? And I remember like I heard her dad come in. He was like coming up the stairs, and he was like, "Hey, is anyone home?" And I was like, "Yeah." So then he was like, "Okay, just checking," and I was like, "Okay." Now the reason that was weird is like her mom was always the person that came over to the home. Like her dad never ever came over there, especially without her mom. But her mom was out of town, so instantly I was like, this is weird. This is really weird. And then he goes into her room. So when I first moved in, I had lived in the room over to the side, which is kind of like the bigger room. You go up the stairs, it was like a really big room, right? And like the bathroom is inside. And she used it kind of like her like little, like whenever I would come over there and visit her, that would be the room we would just hang out and vibe in. And then she had the other room. Well, like halfway through us living together, she was like, let's switch rooms. And I was like, okay, cool. So then she took that room and I took the other room. So, but he was there during the move. Like literally her family helped us switch rooms. So, he goes into that other room because the door's open in that room. He goes in there, he like grabs some things, and then he leaves. And then like it's like doom. Then I get a text message, and literally the text message is so freaking long. You literally have to press the arrow over, and it like literally opens up. It's like a fucking novel. That's the longest text message I have ever received in my life. That's the first time I ever had to do that. There's a dude later on, which I guess maybe we'll do a story time about him, I don't know. But like, he eventually did that, but this is the first time I ever received a text message that long. I didn't know that was a thing. So I'm reading it, and like I'm like reading all the stuff, and it's like, she's kicking me out, telling me how I'm there with somebody else. I'm there pretending to be her and impersonating her. I'm in her room, like in her bed, and I'm like reading this like, what is this girl talking about? What the fuck is she talking about? I'm literally in my room, in my bed, there by myself with the door locked. What is she talking about? And she just goes off, and she literally was like, if I'm not out of the house by the end of that night, she was calling the cops. And I was like, honey, I wasn't cool with my family. Like, I told y'all how my dad practically kicked me out over some fucking food. There was some food that was in the fridge. This is spaghetti, and at the time it was my favorite. Like, the way he cooks spaghetti is my favorite. So I there was an extra plate in there, and I was training downtown, like money was really tight for me, so I was like, okay, there's leftovers, damn, maybe I can save some money, and like I took the extra plate. I didn't know that that was actually my mom's plate of food that she didn't eat, and that her and him had a whole thing about it in the like during that morning, where she was like, she didn't want to leave it in the fridge because she felt like somebody was going to eat it. He's like, no, it's fine. So he got mad at me and projected it onto me because I did what she said I was going to do. And what she was afraid somebody was going to do. And so then he went off on me and like kicked me out and blah, 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 right? So then she knew I wasn't cool with my family. So I thought that that was a little effed up for her to kick me out, knowing that like I had nowhere to go. And like I called my mom and I was like, look, I know we're not cool, but I literally have nowhere else to go, and if I'm not out by the end of the day, it's like an issue. So like my mom comes over and like helps me do this and do that, and like I had an attitude. My mom was like, no, we're gonna take the time to clean this house. We literally clean the kitchen, clean the room and everything. She was just like, so that way she can't say nothing because the house is less spotless. And I remember as we were coming out on like our last trip to put everything in the U-Haul, her dad literally was walking into the home with snacks. And I was like, now this is weird, because she doesn't come home for like another week or two. So why are you stocking up the house with food if she's leaving? And I was like, okay, that's weird. So then as I go to drop off my keys, like the keys to him, her little cousin is moving in. And there was only a 2-bedroom like townhome. It's like there was like living room, kitchen, and then you go up the stairs and there was one room on this side, one room on that side. And I was just like, now you're telling me you made up this entire fucking story in your head to move your cousin in? If that was the case, you could just have the conversation with me, especially because like there were times where her and I were like or tit for tat, just like small things. Like the guy that I was dating, like she low key would be in competition with him. Like if we went out and like her and I used to do like best friend dates, and if we went out somewhere to eat, and it was like her time to like quote unquote take me on the date, she'd be like, you know, I bet your nigga can't do this. And it's like, why are you competing with my nigga? You are my best friend, and my nigga is my nigga. Like, that's that. So, I remember, you know, she always had this thing, but I was like, but that's weird, because like during that time, like, you know, I would be talking to my sister, she'd be talking to my sisters, and like I remember one of my sisters was like, maybe she should get her own place, this and that, and she literally got upset and stopped talking to that sister of mine because her sister said maybe we should get her own place. And just for you to turn around and have a power trip and then kick me out and move your cousin in, and it's just like, now what, like what? So I thought that was weird, and we didn't talk for a very long time. And I remember during this time, like I was going to all these events and stuff, and I would have this like inkling, which I, you know was my intuition. I know it was the Lord speaking to me. And there would just be certain events where I was like, I really want to go, but I was just like, I don't know. I just had this feeling she's gonna like try to pop up and be cool, and I just not in the mood, so I wouldn't go. And then sure enough, I'd find out that she'd be there, and I was just like, So then she kept begging my younger sister. I had a block. She kept begging my younger sister for me to unblock her because she wouldn't have a conversation. So I did. I told my younger sister she's unblocked, you know. But I said, look, if she says one thing that's like wild and crazy, I'm blocking her again.